All right. Another Centre Circle episode. The Champions League semi-finals have concluded, so we're going to talk through Arsenal's away game at PSG, Inter's home thriller yesterday against Barcelona. We're recording hot off the press, straight after the PSG Arsenal match. We'll also be touching on Trent Alexander-Arnold confirming probably what's the worst kept secret in football for the last few months. He still hasn't confirmed where he's going, but we'll come to that. But Keet, let's get straight to the pertinent news. Arsenal have just lost 2-1 away at PSG in their second leg, having been 1-0 down from the first leg. So Arsenal go out. It's going to be a PSG Inter Milan final after Inter beat Barcelona 4-3 yesterday, winning 7-6 on aggregate, which is a ludicrous score for a Champions League tie, but all the more entertaining for the neutrals. I mean, starting with tonight's game, how would you describe it? How did you see the game tonight?
We spoke on Sunday about the nervousness that Arsenal had at the start of the first leg. And the way they came out the blocks today, it was like they've been used to this kind of occasion season after season. I was very surprised about how fast Arsenal started, the intensity that they had. And if it wasn't for Donnarumma in goal, you could have been 2-3-0 up in the first 10 minutes. And just kind of going back to my point that I made on Sunday about Arsenal being able to kind of get the crowd going at the Emirates. This is what they want. I was expecting last week, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I was really impressed with the way they came out. They were on the front foot. Martinelli looked lively. Saka, even though he wasn't on the ball much, he had a bit of intent. And I think Partey and Rice started the game really well. Obviously, Rice had that header with the first chance. And then there was a save from Moreno for Donnarumma. And then how he saved the Odegaard shot, I have no idea like how he got down so quick. So, like after the first kind of 10, 15 minutes, I thought, right, we've got a game on our hand and Arsenal could do what I didn't really want them to do, but they could kind of nick the first goal. And I know it's a bit of a cliche, but the first goal was always going to be important in this game.
Of course. It's not even a cliche, it's facts. It's dynamics of a two-legged tie, right?
Yeah, this is it. What I would say, like, as the game progressed, though, and PSG got into the game, players like Odegaard, who I've kind of been a little bit critical of recently, but I just think when he's in and around the box, there's certain times where he gets a bit of space and I expect him to either kind of thread a pass through to Saka, because Saka's always an option, or take a shot. And he just seems to kind of hesitate quite a few times around the edge of the attacking box. And I just don't know where that's come from, because let's say last season, taking pop shots and whatnot, and he just seems to always be looking for like another option rather than the one that's kind of obvious to us watching.
Yeah, and I think you the key word you said there was confidence, right? There's a specific moment today where he gets the ball on the edge of the box, he turns out, it opens up for him what seems like a fantastic angle for a left footer to trouble Donnarumma in goal. Doesn't pull the trigger. He passes it sideways one more time to Marino, I think it was, or Rice. And by that time, PSG were able to take those important 3, 4, 5 steps forward, and that opportunity is dead and gone. I think the way you've kind of talked about it is spot on, actually. Came out of the blocks, had chances and moments. Was talking it through with fellow Arsenal fans in a text group. And one of my friends said it perfectly, that these things are all about moments. You don't take your moments, they take theirs. You're going home, right? And that is literally what happened. Absolutely what happened. And the same type of opportunity that fell to Ruiz, don't get me wrong, it was an amazing piece of control to get himself to space, you know, kind of use the trajectory of the ball and the fact that I can't remember who it was that was running towards him, whether it was Rice or Marino, tested it past them, but he's taken his shot at the edge of the box, right? He's fashioned the opportunity and he's scored a good goal edge of the box. That's the difference. That's the absolute difference. And I think it just goes back to some of the stuff we spoke about on Sunday. I think there's a very prescribed way to play an attack when it comes to Arsenal. And I think the quality of some of our players, namely Saka, your Timbers, Rice, etc., means there's not a lot you can do about it. But you set up correctly and you can, weather it most of the time. There's no switch up, right? When the ball's in a certain place, it's going to Saka. When it's a bit of a turnover and a quick transition, it's going to Martinelli. It's not hard. It's not hard. And I think it's games like today where you see a lot of the decisions that we've talked about all season kind of come home to roost. They had no real central attacking threat. The amount of time Saka has got the ball out wide, no one in the box. He put in 2 or 3 really dangerous balls today. No one's breaking the neck to get in the box. But it's not anyone's natural instinct to be in that space between the posts, right? It's not anyone's natural instinct in that team to blindside run a defender and toe punt that in, right? And that's why I was saying, whatever we want to say about Havertz, etc., that's the stuff he was doing. He would have been in the mix there, giving Marquinhos and the other centre back something to think about, whether it's physically, his presence in his run. So yeah, I think over the 2 legs, the better team went through. Arsenal probably had the better 20, 30 minutes, which I'm sure they were determined not to have another initial 20, 30 minutes like last week. But I think the same problems just showed, and even with Partey there again, he solved one problem, but he created another. He was too lax for Hakimi's goal, right, which was a great finish into the bottom left-hand corner of Raya's goal. And even before his mistake, you've got Kivior giving away the ball cheaply. It's a Champions League semi-final. Those moments will punish you. The difference is when they made mistakes and we took the ball, we didn't have the quality to finish. So it just comes down. We just didn't have enough quality. And I think that isn't just about players. It's about our manager as well, And if you want to draw a parallel, look at someone like Luis Enrique, right? He had Mbappe in his team this time last year, right? Mbappe's gone, Neymar's gone, Messi's gone, all those guys have gone. And he's taken a team of young players, albeit very talented. They've made decisive decisions. They went and got Kvaratskhelia. He was, 60, 70 million. What did we pay for Havertz? Anyway. And he's got a team that's playing exciting football. Could their defending be better? Probably, right? But they're playing exciting football. And he has quality that can be very decisive in moments. Dembele's goal in the first leg. You got Ruiz's goal today. And you got Hakimi's finish today. That level of individual quality on top of, a very well drilled team, but who are drilled to also be creative, it's potent. It's a potent thing, right?
Yeah, so much so.
I think today kind of showed the levels. It kind of showed the limitations of our team. I think this whole tie did, right? It showed the limitations of our team and it showed the limitations of our manager. On paper, it's progress. Last year's quarterfinals, this year, Champions League semi-finals. But I think if you balance that with what's happened in the league, it feels like, we've treaded water this season, I'll be honest.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if a few Arsenal fans felt that this season just ended a bit flat.
Yeah.
Like, you're in a really good position, and even though PSG took a 1-0 advantage back home, but we know anything can happen in football, innit? And it just feels like there's just that little bit missing with Arsenal this season. I think that's why a lot of fans will feel kind of the same way that you do, just something that a little bit missing. The foundations for a really good team are there. Like you mentioned Saka, you mentioned Timber, Gabriel, even though Saliba's been a bit iffy the last couple of weeks, like the foundations of a really good player are there.
Rice, you know,
Right, yeah, Rice.
Miles Skelly. There's players. There's players.
Yeah.
There's definitely
And
players.
now it's about, right, getting the missing pieces and getting the missing pieces right. It can't be stopgaps. It can't be utility players. You need dedicated players in certain positions of a certain level. And I know that might be hard because obviously kind of PSR, etc. But all that work should be done in the background now. So when the transfer window opens, you go out there, you target your people and be like, right, these are the players that we need to get us over the line.
But even with that, this is what I struggle with. Like, you know, again, we've got more defenders than we can stick a fork in, right? And even at that point, he will argue I still had to play a 19 or 18-year-old player at left back.
Left back.
Okay, fine. There's injuries, etc. But I honestly, if you look at the numbers, right? I read a article today. You know, when it comes to converting chances, Arsenal are the third best team in the Premier League for converting chances. Right? Wolves are number one. Tottenham are number two. The actual problem is we don't make enough chances.
Yeah.
So what that says to me as well, actually, is again, I watched the game, so it's not just numbers only. But what that says to me is you could get a striker in tomorrow, you know, and credit to someone else in one of my groups who said similar. If we don't create more, we're expecting the same guys to squeeze more juice out of the same lemon. Like, you know, all that will happen is, okay, maybe we score a few more goals, but the key issue at Arsenal going by this season is we don't create enough chances, right?
Yeah.
And I wouldn't even mind if we were creating fewer chances and those chances were of higher quality, but that's not actually what the stats say either. So I actually think we need a grown-up version of Martin Odegaard. We need somebody who, as well as having creativity, can stand up and be counted in the big moments. And I think that's my main issue with Odegaard. He hides a little bit. He doesn't make the brave decisions. And the player you need to be brave at those times is the guy with the talent to do the things that the rest of the team largely can't do. To make those passes, to pick up those positions and execute the difficult stuff. He has the license to do that, and he's not doing it. You know, he's not being
Yeah,
brave.
definitely.
He's taking the easy route so many times. He does his lovely pirouette and does what he's doing, but it's not effective. He's not a penetration point. He's not a point of fear. You know, if you're the opposition team and he picks up the ball right now, you're not worried. When the ball gets to Saka, you're
Let him have
worried.
it.
Yeah, let him have it. You know, it's like how they treated Russell Westbrook at the 3-point line for a little while. You know, so I actually think, as much as most fans won't agree with me here, if we get to the end of the transfer window and we've bought, Zubimendi comes in like everyone says, and I don't know who it is, but we buy someone who can put their foot on the ball and be bravely creative, I actually won't mind. I actually won't mind because there's players there who can finish, right? Can they finish to the level I would like? No. But if you played this season again and you created as many chances as the other top teams did, there's an easy mathematical argument that you would have scored a lot more goals, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And I
And I
think the
think
other
you've
thing
got to
that
look
maybe the
back and
stats don't. Sorry, I think the other thing that the other stats don't show is when, though. That's the only thing I would say to that. So those stats won't show the chances you created but missed against Fulham last season or Aston Villa last season,
yeah,
or when you should have held out and beat Man City when you had the 10 men. You know, it doesn't show that stuff. So yeah, I think this summer everyone can scream for a striker, but if Odegaard doesn't come back all guns blazing, what's that striker feeding off?
yeah, that's true. And also, I think you've got to look at the midfield three today. Like obviously, you've got Rice, Odegaard, Partey. you could say 2 of the 3 didn't really have a good game. I thought Rice was okay. Like he gives you that 7 out of 10 that you normally want, and it's like, why isn't Arteta brave enough to take one of them off and put on Wanyeri in those kind of instances? Because, like you said, you want the creative output. You see, it's not really coming from Odegaard. You're 1-0, sorry, you're 2-0 down, 2-1 down against PSG away.
What's there
Just
to
just
lose?
roll the dice. Just
What
roll
is
the
there to
dice.
lose? You can see the
And,
guy's not
and
playing
that's my
well.
point.
He's huffing and puffing. Get one area on. Like, it's knockout football. If you lose 3-1 or 2-1 at the end, it's the same, right?
Yeah.
So I'm with you. You know, we're chasing the game against a very good PSG team. We make 3 substitutions, and 2 of them are fullbacks. What's going on? Like, seriously, what's happening?
Yeah, I can get the Skelly one because he was booked, but and even if like just going back to Wanyeri, you've seen over like he kind of came into the team last season, wasn't it? The back end last season, flirting, played a lot
And
more
then
this
when Saka
season.
got injured,
Yeah,
he's starting games, scoring goals.
yeah, and you've seen that he's not wasteful with the ball,
Mm.
and he tries things, and that's what you want. Like I think that's the thing you're missing with Odegaard. It's like he'll have the opportunity to try a pass, but he won't do it. And I think with Ranieri, you get that, and you don't mind losing the ball in the opposition's defensive third if you're trying to pass. If it's in the middle third, fine. You know what I mean? That's a bit different. But final third, defensive third, you've got a chance for your team to track back. And I think Wanieri comes on and he tries those kind of like threaded passes, or he drives. And like we've seen it, I can't remember what game it was where he came across and he cut him with his left and scored
Yeah,
early this season. Like that's what you want in that terms of
hundred
creating.
percent,
Like if you're not passing the
100%.
ball, can you do something? And yeah, I think just roll the dice and just get him on the
Literally,
pitch.
literally. Like, it's the Champions League semi final. I'll be honest. I'm having Waneri, Trossard, Saka, Martinelli all on the pitch at the same time. Marino, get off. One of the fullbacks, get off. Seriously,
Yeah,
like, if he threw the dice for 10, 15 minutes, what could we honestly say? What could we honestly say? Right?
yeah,
And there's an argument. I've not seen his post match conference. I was too annoyed. But I can imagine he'll talk about structure. We did do this, and we did do that. That structure got us nowhere because individual errors mess us up anyway. Mess us up anyway. So it just goes
yeah,
back to the point we made on Sunday. He cherishes control and a certain approach probably too much. And I think it's really interesting when you look at someone like Luis Enrique, who's been in the game a long time, who would be easy for him to have his way of playing because it worked, right? This guy's won a treble, but he's taken to young players. He's introduced a style of play that gives him a level of defensive solidity. If you see Cavastalia, how hard he was working, every time they
yeah.
lost the ball, he was back. It was a back five, basically,
Helping
right?
his fullback out. Yeah,
Yeah. So the
saw
hard
it
work
loads
is
of
there,
times.
but the quality to execute. We're talking about the first 20 minutes. Even after we had them under the cosh, they get 2 passes. Cavastelia's got it. The post is rattling. He rattles the post straight away. That's the difference. They're just 1 or 2 passes more direct, and that matters. That absolutely, absolutely matters. You know. Now, ball flashes across the box. Saka misses an open goal. Okay, things can change, but it's moments. You don't take your moments; they take theirs. This is where you are, right? And now, I would argue they're going on to play an Inter Milan team who, whilst again they show some quality. I think if PSG turn up, they beat them. I think PSG turn up like how they did in the first leg. They beat Inter. I think Inter might outwork them, but
Yeah.
you know we've seen Inter's defense. They're letting 6 goals over 2 legs, right? And I know Yamal and Co are unbelievable, but you know,
Yeah, they did look a bit sloppy.
man, you swap out Yamal for Dembele, Doué Rafinha. Like we could do this all day, right?
Yeah,
So yeah, I think it's going to be a great final, but I think disappointing from Arsenal. You know, going out in the Champions League semi-final is no shame, but as of Brunei of the Guardian said today, it's how, right?
yeah,
It's how
this
you
is it.
go out, and I think fans have the right to feel like on a big stage, too many players didn't turn up, and our manager didn't turn up with the right decisions, and he wasn't brave enough. That's
Yeah,
my
it's just
sort of
a
one or two line
shame that
assessment.
it seems like all the effort was put into the quarterfinal. I know, like playing Real Madrid's like a massive thing, but we said
True,
like
but it's a
sometimes,
disorganized Real Madrid, right? So
yeah, some teams play the occasion rather than
mhm.
the the actual game in front of them, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and it feels like you got the Real Madrid thing spot on, and it's just a shame that you couldn't replicate that going into the two
Yeah,
legs
but
of
I
the
guess that's
semi
the point,
final.
right? Was he able to adapt for the different talents that PSG uh,
Brought to you, yeah,
brought to us? When you're playing against Real Madrid and they lose possession, you're playing against 9 players, not 11. Because Mbappe and
yeah.
Vinicius are not doing that
They're
defensive
not
work.
tracking back. Yeah,
You lose the ball here against PSG, and if you don't move it quickly and transition quickly, you got 11 players in front of you. There's times where Arsenal had possession in the ball, and all 11 players are behind behind their half of the center circle.
yeah,
So these are all things, and like I said, making decisions. And Arsenal's season is over. What they actually do now is defending second. That's it.
yeah,
You know. So we'll see what clever riddles Arteta tries to cover this with. But I'd really appreciate if he just said, we weren't good enough. We didn't make the right decisions at the right time, and we need to learn from this. He won't, but that's
yeah.
kind of as a
It's
fan what I want to
refreshing
hear.
when that comes
Mhm.
out. I think it's refreshing when a new manager comes out with that.
Yeah,
But yeah, I'd say the penalty incident was a bit harsh as well. I'm quite glad that they never scored because other
it was
like
VAR gone
his
mad,
back's yeah his back's turned, did it? Like I thought it was a
mate.
very
It's just hit
harsh
his hand.
penalty shout,
Like
but
it was a
yeah,
very poor penalty, though.
oh
Poor.
yeah, it was
That was a
very
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 poor
poor.
penalty. Good save from Raya, but it was a very very poor. You shouldn't have even given Raya a chance. And then, however many minutes later, you make a stupid mistake, right? Two stupid
Yeah,
mistakes, you get punished. So instead of using that to kick on, I think the word naive was used to describe Arsenal at that point. So yeah, well done to PSG. Luis Enrique, as I said, after ringing a few changes, not only did Mbappe move on, Dembele didn't play for some time. He had to put a disciplinary hand on him. Kvaratskhelia has turned up in January. They've won the league. He's in the Champions League and has the opportunity to give them their first Champions League in history. So yeah, interesting half of the final. If we rewind back to yesterday, Inter Milan 4, Barcelona 3. I mean, what a game. Lautaro Martinez kicks off the scoring, 21st minute. So much talk about him being injured, him not being able to make the game, etc., etc., etc. So he scores. Then he's involved for the pen, right? Um, and at this point, I'm like, well, hold on. They went 2-0 down first leg. Brought it back to 2-2, went 3-2 down, brought it back to 3-3. Surely we're not going through this again. Well,
yeah, we did.
clearly I was wrong. So, Eric Garcia makes it 2-1, 10 minutes into the second half. Daniel Olmo turns up with another finish, in the 60th minute. Um, and at that point, to be honest, I felt like the momentum was with Barca. It was going
Oh,
both
they
ways,
were well
but
on top. Yeah,
for the last, I had to keep checking the clock because it felt like it was the last 5 or 10 minutes. But I'd look at the clock; it's 67 minutes, 68 minutes.
yeah,
But they had Inter camped in their half. It was crazy. And then Rafinha scores a great goal, 87th minute. Great technique on his right foot, volley in the box, and that's the first time Barca take a lead in the entire time, right?
I know. And you think
So
it's going to be enough, don't you?
literally, literally. And at that point, we are, it's 3-2 to Barca, 6-5 on aggregate, and then a Serbi turns up 3 minutes into injury time. I could not believe it. I couldn't believe it. Honestly, I was almost like, Barcelona, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Um, and he again, this is someone I think he's 37, 38 years old, been in the game a long time. I think his career goals, he's got less than 10, 10 career goals.
Yeah, I know.
Like it, you couldn't write it, but poor defending, really poor defending. And then David Fratesi, substitute, scores in the first half of extra time. Great goal. I think personally, I'm not a big fan of Marcus Thuram. I'm not entirely sure what he offers that team, but for that passage of play, it was really good forward play. And then Fratesi, the way he picks out the corner, again, individual qualities in the box. He keeps his composure.
Yeah, does a little
He could have shot
dummy
straight away.
first. Yeah.
Yeah, he could have shot straight away. Defender goes down to block, slots it in far post. Um, and then from then on, Barca literally threw the kitchen sink, like absolutely threw it. Yamal, has a couple of chances. There's a chance right at the end. And for
Yeah, he
all
hits
his
the post,
quality,
doesn't he?
toe punt. Well, it's the post, but there's a chance right at the end where he just toe punts it straight at the keeper.
Oh yes,
He's through
outside of
one
the
on
boot.
one,
Yeah.
and and I'm just like, and even at that point, that takes him to penalties, not even as a winner. So fantastic game, I think. Lamine
I think the
Yamal,
two legs an advert for kind of old school open football. Like I know a lot's been said about kind of system football over the years, etc., and that's good to a certain extent. It's good to watch, but this was just like two teams, like two boxers, just like taking blows at each other over
yeah.
12 rounds, and then the replay, then the rematch is the same, like slugfest. And yeah, I
I think
enjoyed it, man. Like you don't get this many open games anymore. I think that's why I enjoyed it.
so. I enjoyed it, but for me, this doesn't even hark back to old school because we used to get games where it was good quality football, but part of it being good quality football was the defending. So you might get a 2-1 or a 2-0 or or 3-1 or whatever. Even if sometimes a 1-0, 2-0 would be a real entertaining game, but the defending held up. So whilst I enjoyed watching it, and quite frankly enjoyed watching Lamine Yamal and Rafinha and all those guys, Olmo, Garcia, some of the defending, I was just like, what are you guys doing? Like,
Yeah,
what,
very
what are you guys
questionable.
doing? So yeah, some of the quality I don't think was necessarily as old school. But yeah, it's better than watching the chess match. It's better than watching the kind of tactical cancellation
Yeah.
game. That there was way better than that. Um, and yeah, look again, Inter, another underdog team. I don't think they're doing the best. They're out of the race for the Scudetto. Everyone's saying so. Napoli's a throwaway.
Yeah, 3 point
Um,
lead.
yeah, 3 point lead, and then apparently they got the easier fixture running. Champions League final berth for Inzaghi again. Another coach, kind of making his way through. Been at a few teams now, but this is his, kind of his big job. So yeah, I wanted to
So
see a
who's winning the
Barca
final?
Arsenal. I wanted a Barca Arsenal final. That's what I wanted to watch to see. Um, but to be honest, I want PSG to win it, 100%.
Yeah, I think it'd be good for this PSG team. Like you mentioned before, they had the superstars, and the owners tried to kind of buy their way to success. Um, and like they got who beat them in the final during COVID?
Bayern Munich.
Bayern Munich. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I thought everyone thought that would be it. Neymar, Mbappe in the final, they'll get over the line. But just the kind of way Enrique's gone in there and just kind of flipped the script this season, like you say, everyone's working hard, etc. And I think the narrative has changed around PSG a little bit, where everyone was kind of like, well, no, they're trying to buy their way to victory. We don't really like them. I think this season, everyone's a bit more appreciative of what their style of football is, and their ownership doesn't really come into question anymore. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people are in PSG's corner for the final.
Well, yeah, and I think exactly to your point, the kind of football they're playing, players they have, Doué, Barcola, Dembele, Kvaratskhelia, Hakimi, you know,
Yeah,
um, I've forgotten the left back's name as well.
Neves.
Never the left back.
Yeah,
That's not Neves.
Neves.
Neves in midfield, no. I'll double check, but just watching that team and how they play, I think that's why everyone's like, that's the team. That's the team. Um, but for a lot of Inter players, last chance saloon
Mendes, sorry.
almost. Neves. Mendes,
Mendes.
yeah, that's
Mendes.
it.
Yeah,
Nuno
so
Mendes,
sorry.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And for a lot of the Inter players, a little bit of a last chance saloon. A few of them are a bit older, the twilight, you know. So yeah, I think they're gonna play hard. You got Kalanogu's 37 or something, 36.
yeah,
Mkhitaryan, do you know what I
yeah,
mean? Dumfries is 29, 30.
yeah. They got Darmian as well.
Yeah, exactly, right? People like Thuram, he's got years to play, etc. So yeah, I think one thing just to again call out, I think when you look at that Barca team, they've turned that around, right? They've still got a bit of off the field administrative maneuvering to do, but they turned that around. When you look at that team and the players that they're gonna have there for a long time, Yamal, Pedri, Martinez, Kubasi, he's 18, playing every week. Eric Garcia, Martin, some of the crosses Martin was putting in yesterday. Um, and obviously Rafinha's not the youngest, but he seems to be on an upward trajectory. Ferran Torres started yesterday. Lewandowski doesn't seem to be wanting to be getting old and retire. And who
Yeah,
knows who's coming up through the ranks? Who else? Who else is there? Look at their subs bench. Gavi was on the bench. Fermin Lopez. So yeah, one or two of the right additions. I think we've got a Barca team that's again a bit like PSG. Kind of is more of a team, less about stars.
yeah,
And Yamin Lamar is looking like he's going to be the next alien. I'll be honest.
yeah.
Yeah,
No, I
doing what
agree.
he's doing at 17 years of age is remarkable.
Yeah, I agree. And yeah, Barcelona will probably go on and win the league. Um, so they've got a good foundation to kick on. Obviously, they would have wanted to kind of get the Champions League, but it would have been a bit greedy for Yamal to have the Euros and then a Champions League and then
And the
then La
league.
Liga, all
Haven't
by
they
the
got
time
Copa
he
del
turns
Rey
like
final
17.
or something on
Yeah, they
Sunday?
won the Copa del Rey, so yeah, he needs to experience a little bit of defeat in his early career. He can't all be plain sailing.
Yeah, they got El Clasico on Sunday, I
Yeah,
think. Yeah, they got
yeah,
El
coming
Clasico
up
on
soon.
Sunday as well. So
Yeah, overall, man, Champions League's been good, man. There was a lot
it's
of kind of naysayers around the new format, etc.
yep. I saw
And
the think pieces. Yeah.
you got to look at PSG as well. They finished what 21st in the league stage. Like they only got in on the last day of the group fixtures, um, and they haven't had an easy ride. Like they had to face Liverpool, then they had to face Aston Villa, and then Arsenal. Like that's not an easy ride
It's
to the
true.
final.
It's true.
So everyone was saying, yeah, all the good teams are going to finish higher up in the league, and then it's going to be easier, etc. Anything can happen, and I think the same will happen next season. Like it's going to be maybe the
Yeah, I
teams
agree.
won't finish as low as they did this year, but you're not going to get this like the best 8 teams on paper
Just
finishing in the
steamrolling it
top
like they
eight.
used to do the group stage. Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, so yeah, well done for UEFA for kind of rejigging it. I know their hand was forced a little bit, but
Yeah,
it's
Super
it's
League.
what yeah, it's worked out well.
Yeah, no, agreed. And look, finally, I think just want to touch on, as I said, kind of the worst kept secret in football for the last 6, maybe even 9 months. Trent Alexander-Arnold finally announced um, that he would be leaving Liverpool at the end of the season, at the end of his contract. Didn't confirm where he was going, but again, I think we all know where he's going. But I think he did it in the right way. I think it was a classy way to end his time there. Of course, as it is these days, no, not oh, someone's gonna be unhappy, right?
Can't please
Um,
everyone.
yeah, can't please everyone, and you've got Jamie Carragher there, being the Pied Piper of the nonsensical. Um, I even saw a quote where he said, "Oh, he's tired of people telling Liverpool fans how to feel." He's been telling all the other fans of all the other clubs how to feel about what's going on in their
For
club
how
for
long?
years. He's made a living out of it. So what's he talking about? Now it's Liverpool. No one say anything. Absolute nonsense. Look, I'll let you speak. You've been a lifelong Liverpool fan, but for me, uh, I think he's done it the right way. He's been there since he was 6 years old. He's won everything there, and he has an opportunity to go and play for one of the 3 or 4 most iconic clubs ever. Very few people get to say they play there. Very few English people get to say they play there, and even less English people get to say they play there and be a success there. So why would
Yeah,
he not want to follow, and be the next McManaman? Be the next guy that goes there, wins a trophy or two, change his lifestyle, go and live in Madrid, maybe go learn a new language. He's 26 years old. So, you know me, I rate it when people come out of their comfort zone, especially English players. We had so long where everyone, that Frank Lampard, Steven Gerrard, Wayne Rooney, that generation, they just stayed at home because it was easier. They were loved.
yeah,
So I think it's a great move for him. I think it's a great move for Real. Carvalho is on his last legs. It looks like, um, and yeah, Jamie Carragher's view was it's disappointing as a Liverpool fan because he feels like there's an opportunity here where Liverpool, could dominate for the next few years, and why doesn't he want to be a part of that? Again, he's thinking about Liverpool, not the player. So that'll be my
yeah,
view
and
on that.
that's not a given. Yeah, for me, like as a Liverpool fan, I'm disappointed to see him go, just in terms of what his output on the pitch has been for like the last what kind of 6, 7 years since he broke it
Mm,
into the first team. Like the range of passing that he brings to a team is pretty much second to none these days. Obviously, there's been scrutiny over his defensive fragilities. I've never really brought into that. Like I think it's been blown out of proportion, and a lot of
agreed.
those people clamoring for him to stay have been the ones that are kind of hitting him over the head with that lack of defensive nous.
Mm,
But as a footballer, like clubs don't own you; they don't have a right to say where you go, when you leave, etc. And like at the end of the day, his contract is up, and he decided to move on. Like that's just the world we live in it. Like we mentioned before, a lot of football fans live vicariously through football players, and they're looking at this very selfishly rather than what the player wants to do. And like I say, it's Real Madrid. Not many people get to play for Real Madrid.
mate, if he
You know what I
was
mean?
if he was going to another Prem club, different story. Absolutely
Yeah, of
different story.
course. Yeah,
He's going to Spain. You might buck up on him in the Champions League,
yeah.
maybe, but he's going to Spain, going to do his thing there. Like I don't even understand. And I'll be honest. You say disappointed there. I don't even know if disappointed. I personally don't understand the disappointed bit, and the reason why I say that is when a player's been there for so long, they've done everything that they've done at your club. I'm not saying you should be over the moon like it's a new signing, but I think disappointment will come for me in if they don't replace him adequately. That's when me personally, when
Mm.
disappointment would come. Like, let's be honest, I think we're gonna get there soon with Saka, right? We don't start winning stuff and looking like we can regularly do that. This is apparently he's gonna sign a new contract soon. I think that's his last contract at Arsenal. Because why would you? Like, you're someone of his talent. He's 23 now. By the end of this contract, he'll be the same age as Trent. Why are you wasting time when all your age mates are going and putting trophies
winning
in the
things.
cabinet? You know, as much
Yeah,
as you want to laugh at the Chelsea's, these people, blah blah blah. By the end of the season, Chelsea could have a Europa Conference League trophy. Manchester United or Tottenham could have a Europa League. Do you know what I
yeah.
mean? City could win the FA Cup, right?
And I'm not saying
So,
it will happen. Like, and
mm,
then a lot of the criticism leveled at Harry Kane was he stayed around too long in a team that wasn't winning. I'm not saying that you're going to go 3 years without winning a trophy, but if that happens, will people say the same thing about Saka as they did
100%,
with Harry Kane?
100%. Like,
So
to be honest, and it's also what trophies. If Saka's of the level we keep talking about, is a one FA Cup here or there or one league here or there good enough for someone of that caliber? That the player we think is going to be? No, it's not.
no,
It's not. And you look around, you know, and Trent has got 2 Premier Leagues and a Champions League in his back pocket, right? That's before we even put FA Cups or anything else. He's already won more than 95% of the people that will play in this country, right? Or most professionals, to be quite frank. 2 Premier Leagues and a Champions League. So yeah,
yeah,
you know, and there's all the other stuff people that talk about going to Madrid, testing yourself in that environment. We've seen the stories. When you go to Madrid and you go to training, it's a different level. You know,
yeah,
the expectation from the crowd, from the fans, different level. Depending on what coach you have there, the expectation, technically, the expectation, how you execute, Champions League, all of that's different. I'm not saying there's an expectation at Liverpool, but it's a different level. No one's
yeah.
saying they expect you to win the Premier League or the Champions League. They're not expecting you. They're expecting you to challenge, be good, but the expectation there, we're not in the Champions League final. We're not winning the Champions League this year. Why? Why are we not winning the league this year? What happened?
This is it.
So yeah, look, fair play to him, and I think he can only help the England team if more players are spreading their wings and going abroad. So
And the thing
now,
is, like, ultimately, no player has left Liverpool and it had a catastrophic effect on Liverpool. Like everyone's
yeah,
been replaceable at some point. You know what I mean? Like if you go back in the day, like Ian Rush left and came back, like Kevin Keegan left and came back, Matt Manaman left, Coutinho left, Suarez left, and we've always come out the other side in one capacity or another. Michael Owen, you know what I mean? So, like I say it's disappointing just in terms of the talent that we're losing. Not disappointed that he decided to leave. It's just what we're going to miss on the pitch.
yeah.
But with all these things, there'll be a succession plan in it. Slot would have known for however long that he's not going to sign a new contract. Like Slot didn't find
Apparently,
out on Monday.
until March. Apparently, he found out in March. He went in and told him in March that he's not signing. Yeah,
But that's
because
fair
they were in
enough. Like,
contract negotiations the whole
yeah,
the
of
whole
course,
time.
yeah. And
Yeah, but
apparently the
you're right.
first,
They would have had one eye on. Well, the Real Madrid thing. If we knew about it in December, they come on, right?
yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah, and that's what I'm interested in now. Is that okay? This is the bit I always find interesting. Who are you going to replace them with? And now with all the data and recruitments, etc., I'm still banging on this drum. The Liverpools, the Arsenals, etc., they've got to skip out that step, man. They've got to skip out the step of now having to go to Bournemouth and give them 70 million for Kirkes or whatever it is, right? You can't tell me it's not worth the risk when you have a Conor Bradley around, etc. Go and pick up that guy now.
Yeah.
Whoever that the next Kirkes is, or the next whatever that you're looking at now, you're like, he's not quite ready. Then he goes to Bournemouth, or he goes to Tottenham, or he goes to, I don't know, Villarreal or whatever. Just go and buy him now. 40 million, 45 million. Just do it now,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Like I say, they've got more bigger teams have got to take the risk, and yeah, let's see if let's see if they do. You can kind of say Manchester City have done it with that defender. I know he's kind of fell out of favour a bit recently.
Oh, Kuzunov.
I don't think he was that cheap, but
No, he wasn't. He was 60, 70 million or something.
he's in the young mould, innit? I
Yeah,
think
and
if
he's
he'd
well
gone anyone
regarded.
else, yeah, if he'd gone anyone else to Man City, that fee might have been half. if he'd gone like somewhere else in Europe. Like, yeah, that fee might have been half, innit? You know what I mean? They knew they were desperate, and it's Man City. But yeah, it seems like that they might be trying to do that kind of thing. But yeah, fair play to him, man. And if they get him early, as that's been rumoured over the last kind of 24 hours, we're going to get a small fee for him. So all the people say, no, he's left for free.
But I don't understand how that works because the transfer window doesn't open, right? So how can you even register for another club before the transfer window is open?
So basically,
he'll be a free agent.
Yeah, so his contract runs out at the end of June. So it's the 30th of June. His contract runs out.
Yeah.
The World Club Cup starts around, I think, the 12th of June.
Yeah.
But they're the transfer window from the 1st to the 10th of June. Remember, the transfer window split into two this summer.
Oh, yeah.
So they're saying that they could negotiate something for that first week window. So
they're basically
go to the World Club Cup.
They're going to pay you like 20 million for 3 weeks of his contract.
I don't think it'll be. I think it could be around like 5 or something. Like, it won't be a lot because they're going to pay him a signing fee. Yeah. But we don't have to. We could say no, and then he can't play for them for the first half of the World Club Cup. So
because it's all part of the marketing, isn't it? If he's there in America, he's there for the Club World Cup. So where's the Club World Cup? Is it in America?
Yeah, it's like the warm up for the
yeah,
World
I thought
Cup,
so.
Yeah,
I thought so. Yeah. If he's there, it's all part of it's part of the rollout. You know, America's a massive market for them now as well for all these clubs. Okay, well, all the best to Trent. 3 games left. He's doing a roadshow. Very clever. Waited until the Prem was confirmed, then announced it. Now you can have a little roadshow.
Of course.
So Liverpool play Arsenal this Sunday. Goodness gracious me! At Anfield. Great. So that's Arsenal's next fixture. What are the fixtures there to pick up from this weekend?
Newcastle, Chelsea.
Yeah, Newcastle. Oh yeah, Newcastle, Chelsea. Ipswich, Brentford. Nah. Yep, I think that's it. Aston Villa, Bournemouth. That's going to be tasty as well. And depending on, I'm sure Man United will waltz through, so they'll probably start taking their league game seriously again. And then after that is...
What do you think about Aston Villa and Spurs game being moved to help out Spurs in the Conference League? I think Villa are very aggrieved.
Because they didn't ask for a game to be removed for the Champions League and they got told no.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
But has it been moved because of that? Or that's what people are saying. Or has it been moved because of Sky?
So Tottenham put in the request because Tottenham were meant to play on Sunday.
Oh.
Before the Conference League final.
Yeah.
And Man United were already playing on the Friday before the Conference League final. So when it kind of transpired that they could play Man United, Tottenham were like, cool, can we play Friday too?
Oh, that's fair. So that's fair. I didn't see that angle. So we can't give one team in the same league can't have an advantage over the other team.
But it wasn't premeditated. That's just the way it came out, innit?
Exactly. So now we've equalised the thing. I've always said other leagues help their teams in Europe out all the time. The Premier League doesn't. I think if they were playing against a team in another league, they wouldn't have done it. They wouldn't have done it because they've not budged before.
Yeah.
But they should. You see Italy and all those countries, they'll move games to help give their teams extra rest or whatever.
The league do it all the time.
yeah, exactly. So I think the fact of that Manchester United would have had a 48-hour advantage, can't have that. So I think it's a sensible thing to do. Definitely a sensible thing to do. Yeah, and they should do it more often.
I can understand why Villa are aggrieved because I think it's their last home game as well.
Yeah.
So they would have preferred it to be on a Sunday because they said more families could have come and blah, 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 etc. But
never mind.
Hope they get to the final now after causing all that hoo-ha.
Exactly that. All right. Well, listen, we'll be back on the weekend. Back to regular scheduled programming, full Prem schedule. With a few teams with a spring in their step as they progress to their relevant finals, and Arsenal will have their tail between their legs and will need to put a big performance against Liverpool at Anfield. But yeah, as always, please like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you soon.
Peace.
Peace.